Every relationship goes through difficult phases. There are moments when stress, misunderstandings, or emotional distance create tension between two people. But there's a difference between temporary struggles and a relationship that slowly drains your emotional energy. One of the clearest signs it may be time to walk away is when communication becomes cold, forced, or completely one-sided. In female psychology, emotional connection is deeply tied to communication. A woman who feels emotionally disconnected may stop expressing herself openly. Instead of discussing problems, she may become distant, passive, or emotionally unavailable. And when this pattern continues for too long, the relationship starts to feel more like an obligation than a partnership. Think about it carefully. When was the last time you had a genuine conversation without tension, silence, or emotional walls? Healthy relationships thrive on honesty, vulnerability, and mutual understanding. But when every conversation turns into an argument, or worse, complete indifference, that's often a warning sign. Many men ignore this stage because they hope things will go back to normal. But the truth is, emotional neglect slowly destroys attraction and respect. If you constantly feel unheard, dismissed, or emotionally isolated, the relationship may already be fading beneath the surface. Another important sign is when communication only happens during conflict. She only talks when she's angry, frustrated, or criticizing you. There's no warmth anymore, no curiosity about your life, no emotional support. And over time, this creates emotional exhaustion. Female psychology also shows that when a woman emotionally checks out, she often stops trying to resolve problems. She may avoid deep conversations entirely because she no longer sees a future worth fighting for. And if both people stop trying, the relationship enters a dangerous stage of emotional disconnection. Walking away doesn't always happen after betrayal or dramatic conflict. Sometimes it happens quietly, through silence, emotional distance, and conversations that no longer feel meaningful. A relationship should bring peace, growth, and emotional safety. If communication feels cold more often than comforting, it may be the first major sign that it's time to let go and move forward. One of the most overlooked signs that it's time to walk away from a relationship is emotional exhaustion. In the beginning, love usually brings excitement, energy, and emotional comfort. But when a relationship becomes emotionally unhealthy, it starts draining you mentally, emotionally, and even physically. In female psychology, emotional energy plays a huge role in attraction and connection. A healthy woman wants a relationship where both partners feel appreciated, respected, and emotionally supported. But when negativity becomes constant, the relationship slowly transforms into a source of stress instead of peace. Ask yourself this honestly. Do you feel happier after spending time with her, or more anxious and emotionally tired? Many men stay in relationships where they constantly feel criticized, controlled, or emotionally manipulated. Over time, they begin losing confidence, motivation, and self-respect. They start walking on eggshells, afraid of saying the wrong thing or triggering another argument. And this emotional pressure slowly changes who they are. A major warning sign is when your efforts are never enough. No matter how much you give, sacrifice, or try to improve, she only focuses on what you lack. Instead of appreciation, you receive blame. Instead of encouragement, you receive emotional distance. Female psychology teaches us that emotional attraction weakens when resentment replaces admiration. If she no longer respects your presence, values your effort, or supports your growth, the relationship can become emotionally damaging over time. Another dangerous sign is when you lose yourself trying to keep the relationship alive. You stop focusing on your goals, your peace, your friendships, and even your happiness because all your energy goes into fixing problems that never truly disappear. Love should not feel like constant emotional survival. Of course, every couple faces challenges, but healthy relationships still provide emotional balance. Even during hard times, there is mutual care, empathy, and support. If you are the only one carrying the emotional weight while feeling increasingly empty inside, something is deeply wrong. Sometimes walking away is not about giving up on love. It's about protecting your mental health, your confidence, and your future. Because staying too long in the wrong relationship can slowly destroy the best parts of who you are. And the truth is, the longer emotional exhaustion continues, the harder it becomes to recognize your own worth. Trust and respect are the foundation of every strong relationship. Without them, love slowly becomes unstable, stressful, and emotionally unsafe. One of the clearest signs it's time to walk away is when these two foundations begin to disappear consistently. In female psychology, emotional security is deeply connected to trust. A woman who truly values a relationship will protect the emotional bond, communicate honestly, and avoid behaviors that create constant doubt or insecurity. But when trust starts breaking repeatedly, emotional connection becomes weaker over time. This doesn't only mean cheating. Sometimes trust is destroyed in smaller ways, through lies, manipulation, secrecy, broken promises, or emotional games. When someone repeatedly says one thing and does another, the relationship slowly becomes filled with uncertainty. You begin overthinking everything. You question her words, her intentions, and even your own judgment. And once a relationship reaches the point where peace disappears and suspicion becomes normal, emotional damage starts growing rapidly. Respect is equally important. A relationship cannot survive long term if one person constantly feels disrespected, dismissed, or undervalued. In many unhealthy relationships, disrespect appears subtly at first. She may mock your feelings, ignore your boundaries, compare you to other men, or speak to you with constant criticism and sarcasm. Over time, these behaviors slowly destroy emotional intimacy. Female psychology shows that attraction naturally weakens when respect disappears. A woman may still stay in the relationship physically, but emotionally, she no longer sees her partner as someone she deeply values. And when respect fades on both sides, arguments become more toxic, patience disappears, and emotional connection becomes harder to rebuild. Another major warning sign is when apologies stop meaning anything. The same hurtful behaviors repeat again and again, but nothing truly changes. Promises become temporary emotional fixes instead of real solutions. Healthy love requires accountability. It requires two people willing to protect each other emotionally, not constantly damage each other and then expect quick forgiveness. If trust keeps breaking and respect keeps fading, eventually the relationship becomes emotionally unhealthy for both people involved. Many men stay because they fear being alone or hope things will magically improve. But staying in a relationship without trust and respect often creates deeper emotional scars over time. Real love should make you feel emotionally secure, respected, and valued, not constantly anxious, doubtful, or emotionally small. And sometimes the strongest thing a man can do is walk away from a relationship that no longer protects his peace, dignity, and emotional well being. One of the most painful signs that it's time to walk away is when you realize you are the only person still trying to keep the relationship alive. Love cannot survive on one person's effort alone. In female psychology, emotional investment is one of the strongest indicators of genuine attraction and long term commitment. When a woman emotionally invests in a man, she naturally wants to nurture the connection, maintain closeness, and build a future together. But when that investment disappears, the relationship begins to feel empty. At first, the changes may seem small. She stops initiating conversations. She becomes less interested in your day, your goals, or your emotions. The affection becomes forced, inconsistent, or completely absent. The energy that once felt warm and exciting slowly turns cold and distant. Many men make the mistake of trying even harder at this stage. They give more attention, more reassurance, more effort, hoping it will reignite the relationship. But if emotional investment is no longer mutual, one-sided effort only creates frustration and emotional burnout. A major sign of emotional withdrawal is indifference. Arguments are painful, but indifference is often worse. Why? Because anger still shows emotional involvement. Indifference shows emotional detachment. When she no longer cares enough to resolve issues, understand your feelings, or fight for the relationship, it may mean she has emotionally checked out long before physically leaving. Female psychology often reveals that women emotionally disconnect before ending a relationship completely. By the time a breakup happens, she may have already spent months mentally distancing herself. This is why many men feel shocked when the relationship suddenly ends, even though the emotional signs were present for a long time. Another warning sign is when future plans disappear. She stops talking about long-term goals together. She avoids conversations about commitment, growth, or shared dreams. Instead of building a future with you, she begins focusing only on herself emotionally and mentally. A healthy relationship requires mutual emotional presence. Both people should feel wanted, appreciated, and emotionally connected. If you constantly feel like you are chasing someone who no longer meets you halfway, the relationship can slowly damage your confidence and emotional stability. Love should never feel like begging for attention, affection, or emotional consistency. Sometimes walking away is necessary because staying in a one-sided relationship only prolongs pain. You cannot force emotional connection where emotional investment no longer exists. And the hardest truth many men eventually learn is this: when someone truly values you, you won't have to constantly convince them to care. One of the biggest reasons people stay in unhealthy relationships is fear of loneliness, fear of starting over, fear of losing the person they once loved. But there comes a moment when you must ask yourself an important question. Is staying in this relationship helping you grow or slowly destroying your peace? In female psychology, emotional connection thrives in environments where both people feel safe, respected, appreciated, and emotionally fulfilled. But when a relationship becomes a constant source of pain, anxiety, and emotional instability, the bond eventually turns unhealthy for both partners. Sometimes the clearest sign it's time to walk away is simple. The relationship hurts more than it heals. You wake up emotionally exhausted. You constantly overthink. Your confidence weakens. Your happiness depends entirely on her mood, attention, or approval. Instead of feeling secure in the relationship, you feel emotionally trapped inside it. This is where many men lose themselves. They continue tolerating disrespect, emotional neglect, or toxic behavior because they are emotionally attached to the memories of how things used to be. But memories cannot sustain a broken relationship. Reality matters more than potential. A healthy relationship should add value to your life, not constantly drain your mental and emotional energy. Another painful truth is that love alone is not always enough. Two people can care about each other deeply and still be wrong for each other. Without trust, effort, emotional maturity, communication, and mutual respect, love slowly turns into emotional suffering. Female psychology also shows that attraction weakens when emotional pain becomes the dominant experience in a relationship. Constant conflict, resentment, and emotional instability create distance over time, and once peace disappears completely, both partners begin emotionally surviving instead of genuinely loving each other. Walking away does not mean you failed. Sometimes leaving is the strongest act of self-respect a person can make. It means recognizing that your mental health, emotional peace, and future matter too. It means understanding that holding on to the wrong relationship can prevent you from finding the right one. And most importantly, walking away creates space for healing, because the moment you stop chasing unhealthy love, you begin reconnecting with yourself. Your confidence returns, your clarity improves, your emotional strength grows stronger again. Not every relationship is meant to last forever. Some relationships enter your life to teach lessons about self-worth, boundaries, and emotional maturity. And sometimes the best decision you can make is choosing peace over attachment and choosing your future over a relationship that no longer brings out the best in you.